Most investors still think of BHP as an iron ore company, and that made sense for a long time. But that picture is starting to change. Copper is becoming more important inside this business, and that matters because copper is where a lot of the future growth story sits. So in this video, I want to break BHP down in a simple way. What the business does, where the money comes from, what is changing, and what investors should watch next. By the end, you should have a much clearer view of whether BHP is still mostly an iron ore story or whether it is slowly becoming something different.
Before we do though, quick disclaimer. Nothing in this video is financial advice. I'm not a licensed advisor. This is purely educational. Do your own research. Talk to a professional if you need to. All right, let's go.
The most recent result is the first half of financial year 2026. That covers July to December 2025. Revenue came in at $25.5 billion, down slightly from the prior half. Underlying net profit was $5.1 billion. That is 11% higher than the same half last year. Margins held steady at 50.6%, and the interim dividend was 50 US cents per share, 100% franked. That is a 30% tax credit for Australian investors. The bigger takeaway is this. BHP did not need perfect iron ore conditions to keep earnings fairly resilient. That is important because it shows copper is starting to do more of the heavy lifting. Let me start with how BHP actually makes money. BHP mines three commodities at scale: iron ore from the Pilbara in Western Australia, copper from Chile and South Australia, and metallurgical coal from Queensland. The business model is simple. Extract the ore, process it on site, sell it to global steel mills and manufacturers. There are no retail customers, no software subscriptions. BHP earns commodity margins. Volume times price minus cost. And the key insight is this. BHP's cost advantage is durable. Pilbara iron ore costs roughly $17 per ton to produce. The spot price is around $90 per ton. That is a profit margin per ton that most competitors cannot match.
BHP really has three main engines. Iron ore. This is the legacy engine. BHP produces 257 million tons per year. That has been roughly stable for 5 years. The mine life is 30 plus years. There is no shortage of ore. The question is whether the price holds. Copper. This is the growth engine. BHP produced 2020 kilotons in financial year 2025. That is the highest production in its history, and it is up 24% since financial year 2022. Coal. This is the shrinking segment. Mostly metallurgical coal for steelmaking. BHP is actively divesting thermal coal. This segment is in managed decline. There is also a fourth optionality play. Jansen Potash in Canada. $5.7 billion invested. First production targeted for financial year 2027 to 2028. Now let us talk about growth. If you just look at group revenue growth, BHP does not look like a high-growth business. Over the last 5 years, revenue growth has actually been slightly negative, but that does not tell the full story. Why? Because miners do not control the price of what they sell. If commodity prices spike, revenue jumps. If prices fall back, revenue drops, even if the business itself is still operating well. That is why it helps to split the story in two. Iron ore looks mature. Volumes are stable, but there is not much growth there. Copper looks different. Production is rising, and the long-term demand story is stronger. So the real question is not, did BHP grow revenue every year? The better question is, can copper grow enough to make the overall business better over time? This slide helps explain why the last few years can look confusing. FY22 was boosted by a very strong commodity cycle, especially in coal. That pushed earnings unusually high. Then the cycle cooled down, and earnings came back to more normal levels. So when investors look at BHP today, part of what they are seeing is not a broken business. It is just a business coming off a very strong peak. The important part is the mix. Coal has come back down. Iron ore is steady but less exciting. Copper is becoming a bigger piece of the company. That does not mean the business is suddenly fast growing, but it does mean the quality of the growth story may be improving.
One reason BHP still deserves respect is quality. The margins are extremely strong for a mining business. Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization margins have stayed above 50% for 5 consecutive years. 50 to 62%. That is world-class. Most miners would celebrate 20% margins. Return on invested capital sits at roughly 20% in financial year 2025. That is double the approximate cost of capital. The concern is free cash flow conversion. Free cash flow is what is left after operating cash and capital expenditure. 5 years ago, BHP converted 58% of earnings to free cash flow. Today, it is 36%. The reason? Capital expenditure has nearly doubled, from $5.6 billion in financial year 2021 to $9.4 billion in financial year 2025. That capex is building future production capacity, Jansen, copper expansions. But it is compressing today's free cash flow, and by extension, today's dividends. BHP's moat is not a brand moat or a technology moat. BHP's moat is built on 2 foundations: cost advantage and scale. On cost, BHP produces iron ore in the Pilbara for roughly $17 per ton. The global average for seaborne producers is closer to $45 per ton. The iron ore spot price is around $90 per ton. That is a $73 margin per ton, per every ton, of every 257 million tons. On scale, BHP is the 3rd or 4th largest copper producer in the world by volume, and is growing. The Escondida mine in Chile is the world's largest copper mine. BHP owns 57.5%. The trajectory of the moat. Iron ore moat, stable. No new Pilbara-scale deposits are being developed. Copper moat, widening. The Oz Minerals acquisition added Tier 1 South Australian assets. Coal moat, eroding. Thermal coal demand is structurally declining. The biggest threat to the moat is not competition. It is the customer. China accounts for roughly 55% of BHP's iron ore buyers. If Chinese steel demand falls structurally, the moat becomes irrelevant. Category 4. Market penetration and runway. This is where the story gets more interesting. 2 very different stories here. Iron ore. The global seaborne market is approximately 1,500 million tons per year. BHP has 17% of that market, and that market is mature. China's steel demand peaked around 2023. The long-run trajectory is flat to declining. Copper. Global copper demand is around 25 to 30 million tons per year, growing at 3 to 4% annually. EV vehicles require 3 to 4 times more copper than an internal combustion engine. Data centers and electricity grid upgrades are additional structural tailwinds. BHP has 8% of global mined copper output, and it is growing. So when investors talk about BHP's future, they are increasingly talking about copper, not just iron ore. And then there is potash. Jansen is still a future project, not a major earnings driver today. But if it executes well, it gives BHP another leg of growth later on. So this slide is really about one idea. Iron ore gives BHP today's scale, but copper may shape more of tomorrow's story. This is one of the most important slides in the whole video. It shows the shift in the business mix. A few years ago, iron ore was clearly the dominant revenue driver. Now, copper is much closer. I would be careful not to overstate this as BHP is now a copper company. That is probably too strong. But it is fair to say copper is becoming much more important. And on the production side, the trend is even clearer. Iron ore has been steady, copper has been growing. That is the real shift here. BHP is still anchored by iron ore, but the part of the business that is expanding is copper.
Category 5. The balance sheet. The balance sheet looks fine to me. Net debt has risen, but not to a worrying level. This does not look like financial stress. It looks more like a company spending heavily on the next phase of the business. That said, debt is still worth watching. If CapEx keeps rising, or if commodity prices weaken at the same time, the balance sheet could become a bigger discussion point. For now, though, BHP still looks financially solid. So I would describe this as something to monitor, not something to panic about.
On valuation, BHP looks more reasonable than exciting. It does not look obviously cheap, but it also does not look wildly expensive. On an enterprise value to earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization basis, BHP is trading at approximately 7.4 times. Peer miners trade at 7 to 9 times. So BHP is at the low end of the peer range. Not cheap, not expensive. That suggests the market is not giving BHP a huge growth premium right now. In other words, investors seem to be pricing BHP as a good business, but not as a major re-rating story. That matters because if copper keeps improving, there could be upside. But if iron ore weakens further, the market is not likely to be very forgiving either. So fair value is probably the right way to think about it. This slide is a good reminder that valuation in mining can be deceptive. At the peak of the cycle, a miner can look very cheap on simple multiples. That is often because earnings are temporarily inflated. Then later, when earnings normalize, the same company can suddenly look more expensive, even if the share price has not moved much. That is why investors need to think beyond one-year multiples. For BHP, the key question is not just what the stock looks like on FY25 numbers. It is what earnings might look like if copper keeps growing, and what happens if iron ore stays under pressure. That is the real valuation debate. Management matters here, mainly because of capital allocation. The big strategic move was the push toward more copper, including the Oz Minerals acquisition. That deal was not cheap, so I would not frame it as a perfect value buy. But strategically, it made sense. It increased BHP's exposure to copper at a time when copper is becoming more important to the long-term story. So even if the price paid was high, the direction was probably right. On shareholder returns, BHP has moved off the huge dividends seen during the peak years. That does not mean the business is broken. It mostly means the cycle has normalized and the company is investing more for the future. Now, let's talk about what could go wrong. 3 risks, ranked by severity. Risk 1, China iron ore demand collapse. Probability? High. China buys 55% of BHP's iron ore. China's property sector is contracting. Scrap steel substitution is increasing. If Chinese crude steel output falls structurally, BHP loses roughly $14 billion of earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization at current prices. There is no substitute buyer at that scale. India is not ready. This is the single biggest risk in the thesis. Risk 2, capital expenditure overruns and Jansen timing risk. Probability? Medium. BHP has committed to Jansen Potash. $5.7 billion invested so far. But this is a greenfield project with no operating history. Delays and cost overruns are a real possibility. Risk 3, copper price reversal. Probability? Low to medium. Much of the copper thesis depends on electric vehicle adoption staying strong. If demand growth slows, or scrap copper supply increases, the copper price could fall back to $3 per pound. That removes roughly $4 billion of earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. At the very moment BHP needs copper to offset iron ore. Let me put the bull and bear cases side by side. 3 arguments for the bull case. 1. The copper structural story is real.
Electric vehicles, electricity grids, and data centers all need copper. This is not a cyclical tailwind. It is structural. 2. The iron ore cost advantage is durable. No new Pilbara-scale iron ore deposits are being developed. BHP's $17 per ton cost is a generational moat. 3. Jansen Potash is underpriced. At current potash prices, Jansen could add over $2 billion in annual earnings. The market is not pricing in this option. Now the bear case. 3 arguments. 1. China's steel demand has peaked. The property sector contraction is structural, not cyclical. 55% revenue exposure to one customer base is a concentration risk. 2. Rising capital expenditure is compressing returns. Free cash flow conversion fell from 58% to 36% in 5 years. If CapEx keeps rising, dividends keep falling. 3. Oz Minerals was expensive. $6 billion at the cycle peak. $100 million in synergies is a 1.7% return on that investment. That is below the cost of capital. So, when I pull all of that together, I see BHP as a solid but not perfect investment case. The quality is high, the balance sheet is still sound, the moat is real. But growth is mixed, valuation is only fair, and the business is still exposed to big macro forces it cannot control. So, the simple summary for me is this. BHP looks strong as a business. The question is whether the next chapter will be strong enough to justify fresh enthusiasm from investors today.
If you only watch 3 things from here, I think they are these. First, the FY26 result. Does copper become even more important to earnings? And does management keep the longer-term growth story intact? Second, Chinese steel production. That is still one of the most important outside variables for BHP. If that trend weakens, investors will notice quickly. Third, Jansen. Any delay, cost blowout, or change in expectations there could matter more than the market currently assumes. So those are the signposts I would watch from here. Okay, is BHP still just an iron ore giant? Not really. Iron ore is still the foundation, but copper is becoming much more important, and that is changing how investors should think about the business. To me, BHP looks like a high-quality resource company with a real copper tailwind, but also with real iron ore and China risk. That makes it interesting, but not simple. And honestly, that is probably the right way to think about BHP overall. If this kind of calm, numbers-first ASX analysis is useful, subscribe for more. The next comparison across the big ASX miners should be a very interesting one.